Now, yesterday, an Italian court refound Amanda Knox guilty of murder and resentenced her, this time to over 28.5 years. That's an increase from the original 26-year sentence that an appeals court had thrown out. Now, Knox is now in the United States and has vowed to fight the conviction. In an exclusive interview today with ABC's Good Morning America, she said, quote, "I did not expect this to happen. I really expected so much better from the Italian justice system." Really? They found me innocent before. How can they say that it's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt? I will never go willingly back. I'm going to fight this to the very end. It's not right, and it's not fair. Joe, would the U.S. actually extradite her?
I would think no. We do have an extradition treaty with Italy, and that would, in theory, suggest that we would send people back. But there are a lot of loopholes that you can employ to not send somebody. And in this case, while there's a lot of talk about double jeopardy and whether or not she's being acquitted and now found guilty would be equivalent to the double jeopardy protections that we have in the United States, and therefore not a reason to send her back. I actually don't think that is a particularly good excuse, but I do think that the United States might not send her back just because she was trialed in absentia. And we traditionally, when Italy tries people in absentia, not extradited them back. We had the case of the CIA agents a few years ago where Italy didn't make a formal request, but we made clear we weren't going to send it back because of the way in which their trials were conducted.
Now, I see the CIA trial being a big deal there, something that the Italian government would want to push forward to show its independence during the Bush years from United States foreign policy. But I don't see the point for continuing with the Amanda Knox trial. And I was talking with one of my associate producers before this segment, and she was just asking, why? Why are they doing this? Why does the Italian justice system keep this case going? And Jessica, is this really a case of, wanting to stick it to a United States citizen who may or may not have committed murder on Italian grounds? Or is this a case of trying to keep themselves in the news and maybe perpetuate some political party's perspective? I don't know. I don't know enough about Italy. I'm not sure if you do. But what's your thought?
I don't know that either. I mean, I think we've certainly seen that with the, notorious cases here in the U.S. where the judges and the lawyers involved on both sides do get caught up in kind of their celebrity status as part of this. So I definitely could see that playing a factor. I can also see, obviously, just internal political pressure when maybe Italian people are feeling that this pretty American girl is getting off scot-free kind of thing. And so there's that sort of pressure aside from the celebrity desires. But as far as the extradition goes, I mean, there are loopholes that can be followed, but I do think it'd be hard for the U.S. to, criticize the caliber of the trial there and say we're not going to extradite on that basis. I mean, quite frankly, the American criminal system, and I still try to be a big defender of it, but we've got many notorious cases. Some of the most notorious involving the death penalty in my former state, Texas, of course, where, we're actually executing people and there are grave concerns about their trials and convictions. So it's awfully hard for the U.S. to say, you know what, we're going to judge the quality of the Italian criminal system and say, no, we don't think your conviction was fairly obtained.
You were just speaking about the U.S. justice system and our executions in our states. That reminded me, just neither here nor there, of this headline that came out the other day. Supreme Court stays execution of Missouri murderer. Now, it turned out that the execution occurred before the final stay denial came through, I believe. Maybe if it was not the Missouri murderer, it was another case. This was a quick Google I did to bring this up while you were talking. But there was a case this week. The Supreme Court denied a stay, but before the stay was even denied, the guy was dead.
That's odd. I actually had that situation where I did represent a death row inmate, and it was actually the final thing we got was the denial from the Supreme Court. And I got that. They knew when the execution was, and they called me, and I was able to call my client and give him the final word on how unsuccessful we were, unfortunately. But I'm really kind of surprised there's a specific clerk, at the Supreme Court that deals with these death penalty cases.
The death clerk.
And Yes, yeah, which is a hard job. He was very nice to me, all things considered. Yeah. But he was very well aware of our timeline. And, I spoke to him a few hours before, I think it was about 2 hours before the execution was actually scheduled when he called to give me the final denial. So I am actually surprised. I'm not sure how that would have happened.